Hello there. My name is Arun Gupta. I'm very excited here, joined by my colleague Yishai Galadzor, to talk about introducing Amazon Corretto. Let's see, what is Amazon Corretto? Amazon Corretto is a downstream distribution of OpenJDK. OpenJDK is the open source implementation of the Java Platform Standard Edition. This is the required reference implementation of Java SE since version 7. OpenJDK is a project where the source code lives and have started providing binary distributions starting Java 11 as well. Now, Corretto comes in 2 releases today. Corretto 8 that corresponds to OpenJDK 8 and Corretto 11 that corresponds to OpenJDK 11. Corretto is a reliable build of OpenJDK with the assurance of long-term support provided at no cost to you. Amazon is a big Java shop. We use a lot of Java internally. Thousands of production services are run using Java. Most of them are using Corretto. So when we release an external binary of Corretto to our customers, it's not just a simple hello world test that we are running. You're actually getting a binary that is extensively tested in a production environment. Updates are planned to be released quarterly. Amazon also plans to apply urgent fixes, including security, outside of the regular quarterly cycle when they're available and ready to use. Also important to understand that Corretto is designed as a drop-in replacement for all Java SE distributions unless you are using commercial features that are not available in open source yet. So once Corretto binaries are installed on a host and correctly invoked to run your Java applications, for example, you could use alternatives on Linux, then your existing command line options, tuning parameters, monitoring, and anything in place will continue to work as before. And we're saying that with confidence because that has worked for us across Amazon. Corretto builds are available on a majority of operating systems, including a supported Docker image as well. And Corretto is also certified using the Java Technical Compatibility Kit, or TCK, to ensure it meets the Java SE standard. Corretto was launched at DevOps Belgium. It was received with a lot of excitement, particularly with James Gosling making the announcement. And we certainly had a lot of fun too. Let's learn about why Corretto, and more importantly, why from Amazon. Amazon has 14 leadership principles. The most important of all is customer obsession. Roughly 90 to 95% of our roadmap is driven by customer needs. And we treat internal and external customers about the same. As I said earlier, Amazon is a big Java shop. We use a lot of Java internally. And in 2016, we realized that we cannot rely on a binary distribution of OpenJDK. We have thousands of Java applications running in production, and each quarterly release of JDK would introduce some sort of subtle breaking changes with potential widespread impact. And that's quite relevant, particularly given the Amazon scale. Now, as those releases are available, the critical bug fixes will take a few months from support. At some time, there is an urgency to put those releases into production as soon as they come out because we want to make sure our services stay secure. Security is literally job zero here. So we realized we cannot rely upon the binary distribution, and so we started building Java from source. Well, now that we are building from source, the teams would also ask to fix an issue here or fix an issue there, and also give us some performance improvements. So we started fixing bugs and contributed back to OpenJDK. I'll pass it over to Yishai, who will explain what enabled Corretto adoption in Amazon.
So what enabled Corretto adoption in Amazon? The Corretto team was charged with building OpenJDK from source, like Arun just mentioned. But one of our key challenges was getting these thousands of teams to adopt it. These teams were using Oracle JDK, and we needed to do the first thing, which was to make it compatible with the Oracle JDK. We built compensating changes that made it a drop-in compatible. What that means is a team that wanted to adopt it had to basically do nothing. We used automated deployment pipelines, a CI system and a CD system that just automatically put it into people's services, run the test, and make it work without them actually doing any changes. Another cool feature we have is we have a cross-company profile visibility. So we can see profiles from multiple teams, and we can actually make changes based on that impact the most teams in one go. Producing these performance enhancements provided the carrot for teams to be willing to go and experiment and adopt it. Besides that, we provided bug fixes, so teams that were stuck with the Oracle JDK with bugs they couldn't get fixed for years or months, all of a sudden got fixes from us, and we were very happy to go and pick up the product. Similarly, backports. There's a lot of good stuff going into JDK 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, but is not in JDK 8. When we identified things like that, in teams that have a need, we'll just go and provide that backport, deploy it in Amazon, get the value, prove it out in production, and then get it out to the rest of the company. Here's an example. So this is a flame graph that is used in Amazon, and you can see as an example that in this case, a certain method is very hot. If we can go and optimize that particular method, not only we will fix one service, but we can fix many other services that use a similar call path. I'll switch to a demo that kind of shows these examples. So on the left side, I have the Oracle JDK. As you can see, the Java SE runtime environment. On the right side, I have Corretto. As you can see, we have Corretto 8. These are the latest patches of OpenJDK and Oracle JDK, build 8.202. So for the first demo, I'm going to take a test called simple name and run it. And I'll do the same thing on Corretto. So the test is done on the left side. And what you can see is these two methods, get simple name and get canonical names. These methods are used extensively for logging, for example. What we found is a lot of teams in Amazon use them directly or indirectly. And as you can see on the Oracle JDK, we're getting 38,000 nanoseconds per operation. And on Corretto, we're getting about 4 nanoseconds per operation. Now, what that meant is when you log a line, for example, you would get the name of the method and print it out to the log. But every time you did that with the Oracle JDK, you're waiting 4,000 nanoseconds. And with Corretto, you're waiting about 4 nanoseconds. There's about 800 factor of improvement here. That meant when we got that deployed, that services could actually reduce their fleet size. And you know, at Amazon, we can run many, many machines per service. And that translated directly to better customer experience with lower latency, as well as reduction of the cost to run the operation. Let me show a similar improvement was in getting thread info. It's another common thing you use in profiling. So again, I'm going to run it on the Oracle JDK, and I'm going to run it on the Corretto JDK. So as we can see as a result, on the Oracle JDK, we're seeing results ranging between roughly 6,000 microseconds to 8,000 microseconds, where on Corretto, we're seeing results between 1,300 microseconds to about 3,000 microseconds. So the range of the improvement is roughly about threefold. This is still very impactful for profiling scenarios, where these are going to get called very, very frequently. And because, as you've seen before, we want to run profiling in production, this makes quite a big impact on performance of services using profiling. Arun, you want to take it from here?
So that was pretty cool. That made a lot of sense for our internal customers. But why did we release an external binary on Corretto? First of all, Amazon has been shipping OpenJDK on Amazon Linux for quite a long time. So there is really nothing new about it at first. That's the important part to understand. Now, Oracle announced end of public updates for Oracle JDK 8 and the 6 months release cadence starting with Java SE 9. The end of updates is a usual cycle that Oracle goes through for any JDK release, but the 6 months release cadence was a bit new. That's when we realized actually that it's not just for Amazon developers, but the broader Java community is into focus as well. Customers told us that they're running workloads on not just AWS, but on-prem. Some workloads may be on other clouds. Some workloads are box software. So a whole variety of software they're running using Java. These customers are also worried about testing against multiple binary distributions. They want a binary distribution that is bug by bug compatible so that they have a bit more predictable behavior over there. So what we realized is, we have been already doing this internally at Amazon. Why not share it with customers? We looked at the customer needs, obsess about it, understand the needs, and it became apparently very clear to us that there is no reason to limit it either to Amazon Linux or just AWS, and more importantly, put any types of restrictions on it. So this is open source software, GPL v2 with class path exception. So we build it and we put it out there. Now today, Corretto is available on all major operating systems, and we'll take a look at that in a second. And more importantly, it comes with no cost long-term support for production. You can run it in the cloud of your choice, on premises, on desktop, or bundle it with your software. So the binary is available to you. Let's look at the list of platforms that are supported by Corretto. First of all, the Windows platform, both 32-bit and 64-bit are available. Now, Windows 32-bit is, of course, only for Corretto 8, as the 32-bit platforms are not supported for Corretto 11, which corresponds to OpenJDK 11. For Linux, any Linux version that requires glibc or that has glibc 2.12 plus, those are supported. That pretty much covers most of the modern Linux operating systems. So whether it's Amazon Linux or Amazon Linux 2, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS, Ubuntu, Debian, SUSE, and we even have generic Linux distribution packages. So Debian or RPM packages are available. I'm a developer. I love to build all my applications on my local MacBook here. So I'm very excited that there is a local Mac bundle as well. So if you are using Yosemite or higher, you can download the DMG and then get started with that. And as containerization is all the craze these days, so there is an official Docker image on Docker Hub as well. The exciting part to understand it, this is the only official image of Java that is available on Docker Hub that is also certified and available for support. Let's look at what it takes to get started with Corretto on Amazon Linux 2. I have a demo script here. That's what I'm going to use here. So let me copy a command, and I'll explain that in a second. In my terminal, I'll give that command here. And what I have is a Amazon Linux 2 instance running in EC2, and I'm just SSHing to it. So you can see this is the Amazon Linux 2 army. Let's go ahead and update this instance as the first command. As you can see, this is a brand new instance. So literally starting from fresh, you can see how to get started with it. Once all the packages are installed, then let's go back to our demo script. And we're going to copy the command to enable the extras repo. But before we enable the extra repos, let's check if Java is already installed on it. And of course, it is not installed. So now I'm going to enable the extras repo here. So once the extras repos are installed, now I can say install Java 1.8.0 Amazon Corretto package. And I'm going to sudo it, and I'm going to say install it by default. So basically saying yes for the answers. Once the package is downloaded and installed, now I give the command java-version, voila. Now I have the latest Amazon Corretto 8 installed over here. And you can see this 202.08.2, these are the same bits that are available that are corresponding to the OpenJDK release today. Now, let's also look at it. What does it take to get started with Corretto on Ubuntu? Back to my demo script. I'm going to do another SSH command here. And this time, of course, I have Ubuntu 18.04 running as an EC2 instance. So copy this here. I'm going to get out of my Amazon Linux 2 instance, clear the screen here, and now I'm logging into my Ubuntu instance. And so here you can rightly see this is an Ubuntu instance. So once again, I'm going to install the packages that are required in the Ubuntu install. So a Java common is a base package that is required for all JDK installs over here. So copy it here. And before I give that command, let's try java-version. And it says there is a way by which you can install JDK, JRE into your Ubuntu install, but we're going to go a different route here. So first of all, let's enable the Java common package. So it's going to install the Java common package here. Takes a few seconds, but once the packages are installed, then we need to download the Corretto 8 bundle. So copy the command here, and let's download the bundle. It's a standard Debian bundle, so it can be installed on any Debian-based operating system. And after the bundle is installed, all we need to do is just use the dpackage command to install the bundle. So install it. And now when I say java-version, once again, I have Corretto 11 installed this time. And again, it shows that this is a LTS release, and it shows the patch number and all the details that you would care about. So it's relatively straightforward to get started with Corretto on either Amazon Linux 2 or Ubuntu or any other RPM or Debian-based system as well. Let's go back to the slides. Amazon Corretto is also available as a Docker image. So you go to Docker Hub or hub.docker.com, and you can just Docker pull the container and run the container, and it works like a charm. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to remember that this Docker image is supported by Amazon. Let's see what it takes to get started with the Docker image. Back to my console here. Let's clear it up. And I'm going to get out of my shell here, and then I'm going to use my command. The command here is docker container run Amazon Corretto. That's the image name. And then I'm giving the command java-version. So let's give this command. Now I have the Amazon Corretto image already downloaded, but in this case, this is Corretto 8. But if it's not downloaded, then it'll go to Docker Hub, download the image, and then run the container for you. So it's pretty straightforward to get started with Amazon Corretto, even as a Docker container. Now, of course, you're using Maven as a build tool or Gradle or some other fancy tool for your Java applications. So if you set your Java home correctly and set up your JDK correctly, then Maven will automatically kick in. But we also see how developers are using multi-stage Docker files to create or bundle their application. Now, what is a Docker file which is multi-stage? Well, a multi-stage Docker file is a Docker file which has two from statements or maybe more than one from statement. And in this case, what you're doing is you're using the first part of the fragment from until the next from statement for building your application. And the second part of the from statement is where you take the artifact built in the first state into the second state. And that allows you to create lean Docker image. So what we're doing here is I'm using Maven 3.6 Amazon Corretto 8 as the tag. So you're really using Amazon Corretto for your build time image. And if you want to use OpenJDK 8 JRE image, you can do that too. Now, there is an issue filed in the Amazon Corretto GitHub repo where we are already looking at building a JRE image. So stay tuned for that and look out for that issue for more details. Let's look at Corretto release timeline. In November 2018, we announced Corretto 8 preview. That was done as DevOps with James Gosling, so that was a lot of fun. And at that time, we had support for Amazon Linux 2, Windows, Mac OS, and Docker platforms. In Q1 2019, we announced Corretto 8 GA. To be specifically, earlier this year, we already announced Corretto 8 GA. That comes with a lot of other Linux platforms, Windows 32-bit support, and ARM8 architecture. And most of these needs were customer-driven. We are a very customer-obsessed company. So if you have any other platforms that you care about, I would request you to file GitHub issues for that. But Corretto 8 was GA earlier this year. We recently announced Corretto 11 release candidate, again for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And then soon we are working on releasing Corretto 11 as GA. Corretto 11 GA will have a long-term support until 2024. And then going forward, what we are looking at is starting April 2019, Corretto 8 and 11 will have update releases. So where we are basically, we have done Corretto 8 preview, we have done Corretto 8 GA, we have done Corretto 11 release candidate, and we have just done Corretto 11 GA. So going forward, you know what to expect. One of the most common questions we get from our customers is, does a particular feature work? Our approach to answering such questions is that Corretto is nothing but just a downstream distribution of OpenJDK. So what that means is if a feature works in OpenJDK and it is for a hotspot compatible VM, it is included in Corretto. It is meant to be a drop-in replacement, a drop-in distribution for hotspot-based JVMs. So if your application works, for example, on Oracle JDK, then it should work on Corretto as well. And we are saying that with confidence because if that works for thousands of services in Amazon with only one minor issue, we expect that it will work for you. If it doesn't work, please file issue and let us know. Now, let's look at a couple of specific questions though. One of the common questions that comes across is, does applets and Java Web Start work? Well, first to understand that applets and Java Web Start are deprecated since Java 9. So what I'm showing you is a preview or an excerpt from the Java 9 release notes over here. So that is the first thing to understand. The second is that applet support is not available in OpenJDK and thus not open sourced. But there are ports available by other vendors. So first of all, Corretto does not include support for applets. Now, if you look at the GitHub issues, you will see there are customers who care about applet and they got it running by installing Corretto and then using the applets packages from Red Hat's implementation. So take a look at that GitHub issue and you can get more details about it. Another question that we get is, does JavaFX work? Well, so OpenJDK 8 does not include JavaFX, but we want it to be drop-in compatible with Oracle JDK. So we bundled the open source implementation of JavaFX, which is basically done in project OpenJFX in Corretto 8. Now, JavaFX is open sourced, but all the media codecs are not. So we distribute whatever we can under the GPL. Let's take a look. I have a remote desktop set up over here. I am running a Windows 2019 server machine. So let me connect to that. Now we are in a Windows 2019 machine over here. I have NetBeans IDE 10.0. If I go to Tools, I can look at Java platforms. JDK 1.8 is something that is already shipped with NetBeans, so that is a default platform, but you can very easily configure a new platform by clicking on Add Platform and configuring Corretto over here, okay? Now, what I've downloaded is a simple colorful circle sample that is included as part of the JDK tutorial and very easy to get started with it. Right-click on this and say Run File. There you go. We see a very simple colorful circle screen that is written as a JavaFX application. So the idea is to show that how Corretto is a drop-in replacement for a variety of features and what works and what doesn't work. And so it also gives you an idea on how you can easily get started with it. The next question that we get asked is, how do we support? Well, by default, everybody gets no-cost security patches, at least quarterly. If there are more often security fixes required, CVEs that needs to be done, then we'll give you releases more often. Right now, we put the releases on our website and also add them to the AL2 repo. We are working on how to improve the delivery of these patches. Of course, you can go to the GitHub repo and file issues over there. We monitor that quite regularly. And then there is a Corretto tag on Stack Overflow as well. So feel free to connect with us by any of these means. If you are an AWS customer, then you can file tickets and you will likely get redirected to one of us, and we'll be happy to work with you. I'll hand it back to Yeshai then.
So one question we've been asked is, so how do you guys collaborate with the OpenJDK community? Well, first, the patches you've seen go upstream. We file JBS bugs, we go and contribute these patches. So they're not just available for Corretto. They're available for the rest of OpenJDK when they get accepted. It's important to note that it takes time. It might take 3 months, it might take 6 months for these to be available, and we want our customers to enjoy the fixes right away. The other thing we're doing in terms of collaboration is we're working together with Red Hat and others on JDK 8 and JDK 11 update projects. As of early this year, Red Hat has took over JDK 8 and JDK 11 updates as the Oracle updates have been closed source. Red Hat is the project leader, and Amazon is participating by providing backports, bug fixes, and additional security fixes into the OpenJDK 8 project that everybody else is consuming. So that'll be us, that'll be Red Hat, and everybody else that has an OpenJDK-based distribution. And of course, the patches we are doing for Corretto, they're listed here in our documentation. Every one of them has been filed as a JBS bug. You can see each and every one of them in our documentation site. Another question people ask us is about AdoptOpenJDK and how are we related to them. So I'm happy to say that the AdoptOpenJDK team is considering and working with us on hosting Corretto binaries in AdoptOpenJDK. We've been collaboratively exchanging build and test logic details back and forth between the two projects. And I think as a whole, Corretto is a great recognition for the OpenJDK project as a whole. We love that people run on OpenJDK. We want to tell people that OpenJDK is a viable alternative to the Oracle JDK, and people should feel comfortable running with it. The next question that people ask is, I want to contribute. Do I contribute to Corretto or to OpenJDK? And it's kind of cool. Corretto is on GitHub, and we're all familiar in GitHub contributions, sending pull requests, and what have you. But our goal is to make all of our work and every contribution available for the OpenJDK project. Because of the legal structure of the OpenJDK project, we have to ask contributors to make patches that involve the OpenJDK source code. So if you're touching the JVM or the libraries, please go and start your contributions at the OpenJDK project itself. If you're doing build or packaging improvement, you can do that directly in Corretto. Again, by doing it this way, we're making sure that every contribution can flow up to the OpenJDK project. I want to talk about our team goals. So we talked about the product, but let's talk about the Corretto team as a whole. What are we trying to achieve? One of the most important things, if not the most important thing, is we want to keep the OpenJDK community thriving. By releasing Corretto, we're ensuring and we're telling the world that OpenJDK is a real thing. It is what we run production on, and what we want the community to keep contributing. We want to provide no-cost security patches without any restrictions. We want to make sure that you can take Corretto and do whatever you want with it. As long as you comply with the original license of the OpenJDK project, the GPL v2 with class path exception. We're not adding any additional licenses or any additional restrictions to the Corretto project. We want to quickly validate and release improvements and bug fixes. We don't want to wait 3 or 6 months if we have a customer that's stuck and needs something. Our process is we'll take bug fixes, we will run them through the Amazon production system. So when we've released performance improvements or bug fixes, we didn't just make a code change to the JDK and run a bunch of tests on it. That, of course, we do. We also release it into Amazon. We make sure it's adopted. We make sure it gets soaked in production at scale. And when we're happy with it, only then we'll release it to the rest of the world. And last, we want to grow our contributions to the OpenJDK project. We had a few contributions last year. We already surpassed that just here at the beginning of 2019 in terms of work on doing backports. And we want to keep growing both our team and our contributions to the project and just enable more and more goodness to come into OpenJDK. What can you do? Of course, you can download and use Corretto. We encourage you to do that, and would love, after you integrate it or test it with your platform or application, give us feedback. How do you do that? You can go to GitHub, open an issue, open a bug, suggest an improvement. You can go and integrate with other tools and release things. Like, for example, somebody went on our GitHub and integrated Corretto into SDKman. That's actually great. I'm using it. I love that tool to go and install stuff on my machine. Thank you. And last and not least, join the team. We have plenty of open positions. We're looking for talented people. Come join us. Where can you find more information? You can go to aws.amazon.com Corretto. You can go to GitHub, where you find both Corretto 8 and Corretto 11 code bases. Everything new that we'll do in Corretto will just show up there, either in these projects or in your repositories. If you have questions, you can go to Stack Overflow, go to questions, tag your question as Corretto. We pick it up automatically and treat it as basically an issue in our system. Thank you.